Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be going over everything you need to know for intermolecular forces. Okay, so these are the types of attractions and repulsions that molecules feel towards each other. Okay, so the three basic, most fundamental ones are going to be dipole-dipole, they're going to be H bonding, and they're going to be London dispersion forces, often called LDF. Okay? And there are more specific subvariations in some groups of all of these. So we're going to go from top down. We're going to explain them generally, and then we're going to go into some specific examples, okay? The London dispersion forces is, let's say I have a molecule. Let's say I have a molecule of methane. If I were to draw my molecule of methane, it would be a tetrahedral shape. And if you don't know what tetrahedral means, I recommend you go watch the Vesper video where we go over different shapes of molecules. The molecule methane, if I were to represent it as a blob, this blob would represent its electron cloud. Okay, hydrogen has electrons, carbon has electrons, and the electrons exist in a cloud around the molecule. They don't exist only in the bonds, they don't exist only around the molecule, they exist in a cloud of probability around the molecule. Okay, and so the electrons are constantly moving around, constantly changing their position, and maybe by pure chance there would be more electron density on the right side of the molecule, let's say. Okay, so if there's more electron density on the right side, then the left side would bear a positive charge. London dispersion forces is when you have a molecule that by chance has rearranged its electron density to be a polar molecule where one side is charged and the other side is the opposite charge. And then this polarity aligns with other methane molecules. And so another methane molecule would align to attract these charges. And then another methane molecule might align right here, and it would similarly complement these charges. And so these are London dispersion forces. They are an attractive force. They are dominant in nonpolar molecules, but all molecules are capable of expressing London dispersion forces, because the only requirement for London dispersion forces is for you to have electrons. And everything, all molecules, all atoms have electrons. So what controls how weak or how powerful London dispersion forces are? Well, that goes with number of electrons. Not number of valence electrons, total number of electrons. Okay? So if the molecule has access to more electrons, that molecule is going to have more powerful London dispersion forces, LDFs. Okay? So a great example of that is if I were to have methane, CH4, that would have weaker London dispersion forces than propane, C3H8. Okay? The same atoms, the same types of bonds, we're still dealing with CH bonds in both, except one has more atoms. And since it has more atoms, it has access to more electrons, and so the language that you're going to be expected to use on your chemistry exam is that propane has a more polarizable electron cloud than methane. Okay? That's the language they're going to expect you to use. Next, let's talk about dipole interactions. So I'm going to reiterate that when I talk about molecules with dipole interactions, they're still going to have LDFs because all molecules have electrons and all molecules can polarize their electron clouds. But the molecules that can engage in dipole-dipole interactions are the types of molecules that have a dipole. What is a dipole? A dipole is when one side of the molecule is a permanent positive, the other side of the molecule is a permanent negative. The most popular example here would be water, okay? So we went over in one of our videos how to determine if bonds are polar, how to determine if molecules are polar. I highly suggest you go watch that video because none of this is going to make sense to you otherwise. So when we are dealing with a polar molecule or polar bonds, we know that one side of the molecule is going to bear a negative charge, the other side of the molecule is going to bear a positive charge. The oxygen is the more electronegative atom between oxygen and hydrogen, so it's going to possess the negative charge, and the dipole is going to point in this direction, where the hydrogen is going to take on a positive charge. Similarly, if I were to give you hydrobromic acid, HBr, bromine is more electronegative than hydrogen, so I would have a dipole pointing in this direction, where this is the positive side, this is the negative side. Okay, the dipole-dipole interaction is much stronger than the LDF interaction. Okay, so dipole-dipole, as you might imagine, you're going to want to align positive with negative. So this is going to align like this, and it's going to align like this. Okay, picture this like I'm going to have an HBr here, I'm going to have an HBr here, and I'm going to have an HBr here. Okay. And again, the strength of the dipole-dipole interaction increases with the strength of the dipole. The strength of the dipole increases with the difference in electronegativity between the atoms, okay? So hydrogen fluoride is going to have much stronger dipole-dipole interaction than hydrogen iodide, okay? Hydroiodic acid or hydrofluoric acid, the proper names. Finally, we have H bonding. And these are going to be the most powerful of our intermolecular forces, the most powerfully attractive. Now, H bonding requires one of three circumstances, or one of three bonds to exist, okay? H bond, you remember, it needs to have an H bonded to something, so it either needs to have H bonded to F, H bonded to O, or H bonded to N. I remember this as just FON. It's FON. H bonding is FON. So if you have any of these three types of bonds present, that means you can engage in H bonding, okay? With HF, this is hydrofluoric acid. Fluorine makes one bond, hydrogen makes one bond. You're never going to encounter a fluorine-hydrogen bond except in the single instance where it can exist, which is hydrofluoric acid. There's never going to be other bonds branching off of that molecule. HO, oxygen can bond to one other thing, nitrogen can bond to two other things. So these would be sections of a molecule that you would be looking at, okay? And the order of the H bond, or rather the strength of the H bond, goes in the order that I demonstrated for you, with this being the strongest and this being the weakest. And that is also for reasons I discussed previously, where the strength of the H bond goes with the difference in electronegativity, where this is the highest difference in electronegativity, this is the least difference in electronegativity. So if I were to give you water, give you H2O, and I asked you, what types of intermolecular forces can this engage in of the three that I showed you, your answer would be all three. Because it has an HO bond, we drew the picture right here, it's a polar molecule, it has a dipole, and everything has LDF. So it can do all three. Hydrobromic acid is going to have just dipole and LDF, and methane is going to be just LDF, okay? So now let's talk about the different types of dipole-dipole interactions, because there are several. So I already talked to you about a dipole communing with another dipole, but we can have something called dipole-induced dipole, dipole-induced dipole. And the way this works is if I have a polar molecule, let's say hydroiodic acid, and I have a nonpolar molecule like methane, then since my hydroiodic acid has a dipole, it's going to point in this direction, this side being negative, this side being positive. The negative charge is going to come into contact with this nonpolar molecule, and the negative charge is going to repel the electrons in this molecule. So the electrons are going to gravitate to the right, and they're going to expose the positive nuclei on the left. Okay? So you're inducing a polarization, you're inducing a dipole in this otherwise nonpolar molecule. And this is generally a very poor, very weak interaction. Okay? Next, we're going to have ion-induced dipole, which works based off of the exact same principles, except now we have an ion doing the polarization. So if I take sodium plus and put it next to my methane, it's going to perform the exact same polarization, okay? Good rule of thumb is when you are dealing with a dipole, the charge on the positive side on the dipole is never plus one, okay? It's always plus some fraction, okay? If it were a plus one, like in this case, I would just have a hydrogen ion, all right? It's not that powerful of a charge difference. It's a charge difference, it's a permanent charge difference, but it's not a full positive charge that's present on the positive side, and it's not a full negative charge that's present on the negative side, okay? We use the lowercase delta symbol to signify partial charges. But in the case of an ion, this is in fact a full plus one charge. So this is going to be stronger than the dipole. This is a more powerful charge than the dipole, okay? So this is also going to polarize the negative charges on the left this time and the positive charges on the right. And this is also a weak interaction, but it's stronger than dipole-induced dipole. Finally, we have ion dipole, and this is a very strong interaction where you have a ion, let's say Cl minus, and you have dipoles around it. So I can have my waters, my positively charged sides of my water are going to be facing into the minus chlorine, and my negatively charged oxygen are going to be facing away from the chlorine. Okay, and they would gravitate around the chlorine as such. And so the general ranking of strength of these would be LDF is generally the weakest. I say the word generally because there are certain rare exceptions to this ordering. LDF would be the weakest. Then next strongest would be dipole, dipole. Then one more higher would be H bonding. Then one more higher would be the ion dipole interaction. Okay? So let me give you examples of all of these, because the most likely scenario where you're going to see all of this applied in your chemistry class is when you talk about boiling point. Okay? So for a brief introduction, if the molecules are not very attracted to one another, they're going to boil very easily. Okay? Because in order to boil something means to remove molecules from the greater mass, okay, to break molecules off from the whole. That's what happens when they boil, when they transition to the gas phase. So it's going to be harder to break molecules off from the whole if they're attracted to one another. So the more poor the attraction is, the easier it is to boil. The easier it is to boil, the lower the boiling point, okay? So if I take propane, which looks like this, H's all around all the carbons. Now propane, since it's just C and H bonds, it's going to be a nonpolar molecule. So it's going to have only London dispersion forces to pull everything together. Okay, so this has a boiling point of negative 42 degrees C. Okay, it's less than room temperature because we all know propane is a gas. Okay, you buy it in gas cylinders. So it is very, very easy to boil propane. There's very little holding it together. It already exists as a gas. You don't need to put any more energy into it to evaporate it. Now, I'm going to deal with the same structure of molecule again. So I'm going to have a carbon on this side, carbon here, and the only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a double bonded oxygen right here. This is called acetone. Now I have this C double bond O. Now I have a dipole in my molecule. Acetone boils at 56 degrees Celsius. It's much harder to boil. Okay, room temperature is 30 C. You got to heat this up to 56 degrees C to boil it. So this is dipole-dipole. We're going to go one step further and upgrade it to H bonding. This is, you probably have some of this in your like emergency medical kits. This is called isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so again, same size molecule, same structure of molecule, same 3-carbon structure with hydrogens everywhere, except now I have an OH. Now I have an H bond site. Isopropyl alcohol boils at 82 degrees Celsius. Okay, it's much harder to boil this because everything is so much better attracted. All right, this has been Intermolecular Forces, everyone. If you think you learned something useful today, leave a like. And if you need any extra help, go to meekextrahelp.com or join the Discord server. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy life.